Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tracy Show. I'm Tracy, of course. I'm going to let my guest introduce herself here in just a minute. But before I do that, I always want to invite everybody to subscribe to my page. 1,000 subscribers is the goal. You're still at, we still need 888 um, to get to that goal. We're almost there because we keep picking up subscribers, so I'm grateful for that. Um, of course, you all can support me on Patreon at $Tracy Media 74. And if I think of some other things, then when the show, I'll just pop in and tell them. So I am going to let my guest introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashaki Nichols, and I'm running for President of the United States in 2024.
That was very quick. I thought you were going to talk a whole lot about some other stuff,
Oh,
but
we need
that's
more?
okay. Oh
Okay.
no, no, that's good. Thank you. So obviously, first question out of the gate, you could have ran for any office: city council,
Mhm.
mayor, governor.
Yes.
Why this particular office?
Because the issues that I actually want to address are at the federal level, they're not at the local level. Because what I see happening right now in our country is that a lot of the federal laws are affecting the local laws. And that's because federal government is growing too broad, affecting how the local laws are enacted within each state.
Now, when you say too broad, can you give an example?
Mhm. Well, what I mean by that is, for example, with the Inflation Reduction Act, they actually invested dollars into the IRS to actually address individual, what, maybe 50,000 a year, and go after people for $600 in different payment methods, like say Venmo or Cash App or PayPal. They are trying to find to tax people on monies when our economy is actually having a lot of time, right?
Okay,
So when people had to used to, right? So a lot to make money, and but they've brought in very far, and that's not helping the American people because now we're paying them. So we're so that's one area, for example.
yeah, your phone. I don't know what location you're in, but you're going in and out again.
I see it too. Um, you know what? Borrow your Wi-Fi. I'm
And
gonna attach my phone to his Wi-Fi and see if it's more.
okay, and while she's
Sorry
doing
about that,
that,
guys.
um, I also need you all to like this video. I get a lot of views, which I greatly appreciate, but I don't get a lot of likes, and you know what else I don't get? A lot of comments. So comment and like this video. And again, we're gonna just wait for our guest here. What else I want to promote? Duh, 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 duh. I said I was going to have a 12-hour straight broadcast. I may reduce it down to 4.
It's the
I may
computer
reduce
crash.
it down to 4. Um, we'll just keep waiting for them. I may reduce it down to 4, and I'll tell you all why in a later video. But it looks like our guest is back up, so let's see.
Just a little brick.
Okay. Well, good thing to know. My hair looks especially gray today. That's always a bummer. Yep. So she is still having some trouble there. Just once she's up, and that happens. We're living in a techno tech no, technology technological world. Yeah, technological world. So what I would do is I'm going to um, I don't know whether I should pause or continue because I was ready for the interview, but just gonna wait here a couple more seconds, and I will. What I will do is I will pause this. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll pause it, and then I will come back. So give me about 2 minutes, um, and we'll see what's going on. Okay. So we're gonna come back in 5 minutes. So we'll see you all here. Oh, hold on. Maybe not. Let's
Oh,
see. Okay. Are
is
you
this
good?
better?
Yes, that is so much
Okay.
better. Okay,
I
so
connected to my MiFi, which is a portable Wi-Fi. So that should be a little bit more stable.
yeah, okay, so yeah, you're not going there. So you had said
Yeah.
I was asking you to give me an example of government too broad, and I think you were talking about the government now taxing like Cash App payments and VMO payments and PayPal
Yes.
payments. Could you
Yes.
repeat that because we didn't
Oh,
get any
sure.
of
Of
those?
course, of course. So, for example, with the Inflation Reduction Act, they actually invested $80 billion into the IRS to hire more agents to go after people that are in the gigging economy. If they're making over $600 through ways of Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. And so these are venues that people have used, especially after enduring the pandemic, to make money because some people just completely lost their jobs or lost their businesses and they had to kind of, just reorganize their lives. But because those systems work and operate a lot like cash, they're not always reported to the IRS as income. And so they're going after the little guy once again to collect taxes, which taxes can be collected from each transaction if they thought about doing it that way. But I really think we actually need to restructure our taxes altogether. That's a whole separate issue. But that's an example of broadening government where we don't need it broadened.
Now, I did get a chance to view your website, and I found it to be interesting. And I'll backtrack this away because I am a pure leftist. I'm just left, all the way left. I don't apologize for being a leftist. I'm never going to apologize for being a leftist. However, some of your stances, not that I was confused because I saw where you were going, but then I was like, okay, this one versus this one is kind of confusing me. Can you explain your stance on the border wall? That's the one that had me
Oh,
kind of scratching my head because I was like, well, okay.
okay, so with the border wall, what I want to do is I want a mandated hold on all border crossings for at least 10 years to allow people that have applied for citizenship here to get their citizenship because it can take 8 to 10 years to actually become a US citizen. And we need to work through getting that regulation, obviously, to be an easier process. We need the border closed, and we also need to go back and deport some people that have been here for at least 10 years. And the reason why is because they are not here legally, have not applied for legal citizenship, and they're working under the table, and it's creating basically another slavery class. And that needs to end. We don't need to do amnesty again because we've already done that part. We did amnesty probably like in the mid to late 90s, and the goal was, well, there's so many people here already, let's just give everybody citizenship. And so they did. But in turn, they've never really fixed the immigration system because it is broken. But I want a hold on immigration so we have the opportunity to fix it. So, again, like I said, so we don't create another slave class.
Right. Thank you for explaining that because I'm like, I think she means this, but of course, when I hear border wall, I think of build the wall, build it tall, waste a whole
No,
bunch of money. I'm
because
like, okay,
a wall is not going to keep people out.
yeah,
We
that's
need
exactly what I
processes in
was thinking.
place.
Yes, that's
We,
what I was
we,
thinking. I'm like, well, it's not going to
yeah,
keep people
we need
out.
processes. We don't need a wall. No, 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 no. We need processes because that's where our whole immigration system has failed.
Yeah. Now, I never
It's
asked this.
not
Oh,
only
go ahead.
the
I'm sorry.
citizens of the United States, it's failing those who want to come to the United States.
Right. Now, here is another
Me and
question
this
I
internet,
never
I don't know
asked, and
why.
it's I'm asking because of the office that you were seeking. Um,
Hmm.
I already asked you why you're running, but have you ever ran for any other office or held any other office?
I have not. I have worked in the background on campaigns. I have worked in spaces where I have worked with elected officials, but I have not actually held a position. No.
Okay, because they usually usually in the duopoly when somebody runs for
Hmm.
president, they've been
Right.
city council, mayor, governor, senate. They kind of like
Yeah.
work their way up, and you're just jumping right in, which
Right. Because there's no
again,
prerequisite in the Constitution that says you have to do that. It's
I
great if
understand.
people do that, but you don't have to.
Right? Talk. Do you talk about that on your campaign? Do you talk about, hey, I'm an
About
outsider, and we have a system full of insiders, and that's what's actually ruining the system? How do you pan
no,
that out?
that's not my angle. No, that's not my angle. I think everybody has something to contribute to the United States, and that's what makes it such a beautiful country. Because anybody can come here and be successful because we have the freedoms that we have. My focus is to make sure that we maintain those freedoms and move forward with that.
Thank you again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you decided to run, again, I've already asked why did you run for this office, and
It's
you said
okay.
a lot of issues that you want to address are
Mhm.
on the federal level. But when you sat down and spoke, to your family, your friends, your colleagues, what did you what did you say to them? I never asked that question before. What is it that you said to them that said, "Hey, I'm running for the highest office in the land"?
Yeah. Well, I let my family and friends know the reason why I was running is because I saw the divide in this country and I really didn't see anyone trying to fix it. We have right now about 300 candidates in the running for president, and I just did not see anybody addressing the issues that I wanted to address. And at this point, it's all or nothing. I really, I sat down and talked to my husband, and he was the most important person to me to be by my side outside of my family and friends that I needed support from to do this because he and I, it's going to affect his life as much as mine. And he supports me in my views and actually, what I'm trying to accomplish because my platform is God, family, health, and education. And I want to make sure that those things are championed at the federal level because we've lost sight of it. Everybody wants to mudsling and, be the shiniest new quarter out there, but nobody really is getting the work done. And that's what we really need to get back to is getting the work done for the people of this country.
Absolutely. And besides the gig work issue
Mhm.
that you brought up, what
Yeah.
other issues is it that you want to address?
Okay. I definitely want to address legalizing marijuana. It's at the point where it needs to be legalized at the federal level because unfortunately right now, even though it's legal at the state level, someone can still be arrested at the federal level and actually do more time in prison than at the local level because it is still illegal at the federal level. So we need to just make it legal. Right now we have alcohol, we have cigarettes, and at one point in time in our country, those things were illegal. They were not, they were looked down upon in our society, and there was a, you know, sub market for it, but people were still buying the product. And then they figured out a way to monetize the product and make money off of it. And now those things are legalized. You can go into a bar and get a drink. You're not going into a back alley trying to get a shot of tequila. So it's just time to take it to that next level. And I know everybody's concern is like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to run around and being high and not being focused. And actually, it's going to bring crime down because there's not going to be anything to fight over anymore. And there will probably be a lot less people smoking it, in my opinion, because a lot of people smoke it right now for medicinal purposes. It's not necessarily for recreational purposes. So, but that's my 2 cents on it.
Understand what other issues are you advocating that I have some that I'm going to name, but you can kind of tell me
Mm-hmm.
some other issues that you have concerns about.
Oh, can you repeat your question?
I
Sorry.
was saying that I always give my presidential candidates some issues that
Oh,
I'm concerned about personally, but I want to hold
okay.
back on that to give you the chance to say another issue that you were concerned about.
Let's see. I'm just going back to my reparations is another issue that I am concerned about. In making sure that the promise that was broken is kept. I want to put in place a Federal Reserve Act that will actually address reparations, not just financially, but also breaking it down into, you know, barriers of education and imprisonment, and making sure that we have something in place far after the checks are given, right? So putting in place an anti-Black hate crime bill within that federal act. Also putting in, celebrating 1619, and just making sure that we have a federal reparations act that addresses every part of reparations, not just the monetary part of reparations.
Now, when you say reparations,
Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
But a lot of politicians, they do this and it bothers me. They will
Mhm.
talk about every other ethnic group getting reparations and they do it on purpose. They literally do it on
Yeah.
purpose. Are you specifically talking about African Americans who are descendants of slaves?
Yes, I am talking about freedmen, also referred to as foundational Black Americans. But freedmen is actually within our Constitution. A lot of people don't know that. That actually, at one point, when they were developing the Freedmen Bank, there was supposed to be in place in the Constitution freedmen bill that would protect slaves from being further enslaved or having their rights taken away. And they were also supposed to get their 40 acres and a mule. So there were things that were proposed, but they were never followed through on. And so, as the descendants of those slaves, this will definitely be based on your lineage. It will be lineage based. Not every Black person is going to get a check, so to speak. For example, my grandmother, she knows about my great grandfather, but unfortunately, he didn't know his name. He did not know how to read or write. So he took on the name from his slave owner. However, because she can't really trace it back to that slave owner, she may not be eligible for reparations. Now, my father, he did trace the family back through his lineage 150 years, and he does have the name of the slave owner. He does know exactly where, we came from on my father's side. So in that, I would be eligible for reparations. My father would be eligible for reparations. So people just need to understand this is not just, okay, it's just going to be free money. No, it is not. But if we get a federal reparations act, that act will put into place where it will perpetually advance those of African descent, or well, I should say freedmen descent, or descendants of slaves from Africa that were here and they became Americans, it will ensure that as the country grows, that population of individuals will grow as well. I mean, just think, what if we had gotten that 40 acres and a mule, how far we would be? Had they not burned down the Freedmen Bank, how far we would be? Had they not had the Roswells and the Ocoees and the, situations in Tulsa where whole buildings and towns were burned down that had freed slaves within them, how far we would be as a people.
Now, and and I did that for my audience too, because that's one of my pet peeves is when I hear a politician talk about reparations. They,
Yeah.
like I said, they bring in every population, and the reporter is specifically asking them about black people, free people, as you're
Yes.
saying. I'm like, no, that's not the question. The question is this, and you're saying this, which
Yeah.
politicians are good at doing. But
Yeah.
we're gonna just wipe those out. So um, I definitely said that I always have some issues that I
Hmm.
ask about. You already hit one, reparations. Um,
Okay.
you also said that healthcare is one
Yeah.
of your core things that you talk about. And
Yes.
I am a 100%, if you're not for Medicare for all, you can just forget about my vote. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm not gonna vote.
Right.
I'm
Right.
just not going to. How do you? How do you feel about the term? Well, not the term. How do you feel about Americans, no matter what their
Mhm.
income level, having access to health care without going through a Cigna or a Humana or, now they're called Elevance. Um,
Right. Right.
how do you
Um,
feel about that whole? Or what is your campaign stand on that?
yes. So, what I would like to see is federal funding given to states where they could supply their own state funded health care. So, for example, if I work for a company and I'm offered health care through that company, I have the option to take health care through that company or get the state funded health care that's provided by that state, because each state has economic differences. Things aren't going to cost the same in Nebraska as they do in New York, right? Or Georgia from Alabama or Louisiana. So each state is going to have a different amount that they need to delegate to their citizens. But citizens that are residents in those states should be offered eligible health care so they don't have to your point, go through the Blue Cross Blue Shields or the Cignas. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Medicare program, it can be a state funded medical program where people can get their surgeries that they need. They can get their dental, they can get their vision, and they can get their health care, because we become a population that has actually used the human being as a business model. I'm going to keep you well enough, but I'm going to make sure you have to take this pill that costs you money to keep you alive. And that's where we don't need to be in our society. We need to be a healthy society and an educated society so that we have that abundance and move forward. We don't need to be in that class of always being sick, but our food is making us sick, right? The pills that we on are making us sicker. And that's not where we should be when we have so much that we can actually offer to our citizens.
Thank you for answering that, because I like I said, I'm just a proponent of Medicare for all. It's like, okay, that's my issue. Um,
Hmm.
but I also
Yeah.
want to ask you about um, women's autonomy over their own
Hmm.
bodies, and how does your campaign address that?
Okay. So for me, and this is a sensitive subject personally for me because I have had an abortion, and I know the just the psychological things that you go through and the physical aspects that you go through. And I want to make sure that when women are making the choice, no matter what they're making, that they are supported in that. Because when we talk about it, we just say it, oh, it's just this procedure, but it's like, wait a minute, there's a whole person here. There's something that happened to this individual. We don't know if they were in a relationship. It may have been abuse. It may have been rape. It may have been, any number of circumstances. And are we actually mentally taking care of the person to make sure that they're okay? Because there are some instances where there's a single mother, she wants to take care of her child, but she doesn't know how. Are we offering those resources to make that choice? And then there are other situations where individuals, they're on that trajectory where they're like, this is something where I do want to end this pregnancy. Are we actually taking care of that individual and following up with them afterwards to make sure that they're okay? It needs to be a whole process. It can't not just be, okay, we're either going to have it or we're not. So right now, yes, it is at the state level. And I'm glad that it is, only because now if a situation happens, they can go to the state legislature. There can be precedent set in each state that determines what types of abortion laws they're going to have. Because what happens is if the federal government gets involved and tries to mandate anything for or against, it's not only going to divide our country, it's going to make it so where the human beings really don't have autonomy over their bodies. And that's not where we want to be. If we say we're a free country, then let's be a free country. But let's offer the options as they're laid out and not just throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Understood. Understood. Um,
Yeah.
switch up in terms of focus. Um, when you're out campaigning, when did you start your campaign? Like when did you
So
announce?
so I announced last February and I put out a video on Facebook. And then from there I traveled to South Bend, Indiana and did a little meet and greet there around I want to say June. Then I did a video on iHeartRadio, which dropped further my announcements. Went back to South Bend in October, got to meet the mayor and a few other people. Did my press release just this past March, earlier in March. So I'm, you know, out there as much as I can be because I don't really have a lot of money coming into my campaign. So a lot of these dollars are raised by myself and generated by myself, but I'm definitely pressing forward. And we've come up with a party which is called the Redemption Party. So that's the party that I'll actually be running under with my campaign. So anybody wants to check it out and join it, you can go to usaredemptionparty.com or redemption-party.com.
Great. And I don't even know how to phrase this next question because
Okay.
I know if I was asking, I would be like, "Why are you asking this?" But
It's okay.
what when I think about presidents and presidential
Hmm.
campaigns, unfortunately, I
Okay.
just think of two people. I either think Joe Biden, the person that's currently holding the position, or
Right.
Donald Trump, the person that wants to go back to where he was.
Hmm.
Here's how I'll ask it: what makes you different from those two people? Because they're the leading contenders
Oh,
right now. So what makes you different
right.
from them?
What makes me different from either of them is the fact that I'm about 20 years younger. That's the first aspect. I've got youth on my side, so I'm able to actually reach a broader audience, young and old, to bridge that gap. The other thing that makes me stand out amongst both of them is I'm not going to be mudslinging. I'm about getting the work done, not talking about the work and not talking about what somebody's doing or what they're not doing, but actually getting the work done. Having a paralegal background, I do have a background in contractual law, and our Constitution is a contract. It is a social contract with the people of this country, and it needs to be upheld. So that's what makes me stand out.
That is a good answer because I would have went. See, this is why I know in my audience they're not here tonight, but they always going to be room for all. No, because I know me. I know my temper. I If you go low, I'm probably gonna go low. That's just me. But I'm giving you kudos for staying on the issues because we have a lot of
Yeah.
things that are wrong in this country that we need to
Yes.
fix. And here comes the next one. And
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive about this, even though I don't have children myself. Is
Hmm.
uh, childhood poverty
Yes.
and what we need to do about it. The fact that we
Hmm.
have not hundreds of thousands of children, but millions of children that
Yeah.
live in poverty, and what would be your
Yeah.
strategy in addressing that?
Well, the first thing we need to address is what is going on in the home and what types of homes are they in? And I guess the first question is why is the poverty there and we're one of the wealthiest nations? We're a first world country, right? Why do we have these third world problems? Why is that? So that is where I would have to start first is the why to get to the solution, because a lot of times when you're just throwing money at an issue, because yeah, we could, get everybody all moneyed up, but then are we really dealing with the issue of how we got there in the first place? And we have to really deal with the why. Are we dealing with parents that may have severe addiction or that are abusive, or a foster care system that's overrun and flooded and we don't have enough foster care parents out there actually caring for children? Because unfortunately there's a lot of abuse that goes on in the foster care system and even in the adoption system. So that's where we're getting some of this poverty from, because these children are they're fighting for their lives and nobody hears their voices. So we have to get to the why in order to actually fix it.
Yeah, that's one issue that I am so concerned about, especially when
Hmm.
I read things like, children only being fed when they go to school, and
Hmm.
then they're going to
Hmm.
bed. It just
Yeah.
I'm not going to cry everybody, but
Nope.
it's
Yeah.
a
And it's understood. Yeah. And then, like I said, a lot of that is like what's happening in the home. Do we need, to make sure that there's a food bank at that school that happens once a week so that there's fruit, so we know as a school, right, and as a community, that those children are getting fruits and vegetables because we made sure they went to that parent's house. Because like I said, those children may be dealing with parents that are children themselves and really don't know how to care for another human. Are we really again dealing with the root cause of what's going on?
yeah. And next question, in terms of your strategy, some independent candidates have like, if I could just get on the ballot in 5 states, or they'll have
Hmm.
a 13-state strategy.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
I have a preference. I won't say which preference it is, but yes, I will.
Okay.
It's a 50-state strategy plus the seven territories. I have a
Hmm.
57, 50 state plus seven territory strategy. However,
Okay.
I realize that candidates like yourself don't necessarily have the war chest to pull off that. Talk about
Right.
how vital your volunteers are to getting your message out.
They are extremely vital. And I know a lot of times everybody goes, well, how can I volunteer? You know what the best way to volunteer is? Like, share, and subscribe. And make sure that any videos that I put out on social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, you're just sharing and you're liking and you're commenting and you're pushing forward the message. We actually have an 11 state strategy because there are a core 11 states. If I can win those 11 states, you win the presidency, no matter what happens. You don't need all 50, you just need those 11. And if you can win those 11 states, so that's what my team is focused on right now. And so the goal is to get on the ballot in those 11 states. Of course, we're going to be, obviously focused on getting on the 50, but those 11 are the core that we're focusing on and doing the petitions and getting on the ballot so we can secure those states.
And I'm betting Indiana's not one of those states. But okay,
Indiana is Indiana is actually one of the states.
are you serious? I'm like, really?
It is.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
go ahead and name the 11 states because I never
I
would
I
have put.
don't know them all. I don't know them all by heart.
Okay, but we know
But I know
Indiana's one.
Indiana's one, Georgia's
California has
one.
to be one of them.
California's one, Pennsylvania's one. So I've got like four, and but there's 11 altogether. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're skipping California, you just can't be serious. You can't be
No,
because it's like that's the biggest state.
it
I'm
is. It
assuming
is.
okay because I got Indiana wrong. Texas.
Texas might be on there. It kind of surprised me. Some that went. Pennsylvania kind of surprised me that it was one of the 11, but it is,
Because
and
I
they're
would have said,
considered.
and I live in Indiana. I would have said Ohio over Indiana any day of the
Oh,
week, because
oh,
our state we've gone Republican in so many presidential elections except one, and that was in
okay,
whenever Obama won Indiana.
right,
That was like
yeah,
the last time, and
2008.
thank you. And it's been Republican. I don't even think a Republican has to try. They could just say, "I'm
Yeah,
Republican, run for president." They got it. That's why I
yeah,
wouldn't. That's why I wouldn't have picked Indiana. I would have picked
hmm,
Ohio.
yeah,
But you have your own strategy in terms of how you're
yeah.
meeting. Um, how has it been? And this is a question I've never asked any of my presidential candidates. How has the media treated you?
Well, what actually the media's treated me okay. I have not gotten to the national level yet. I'm still at the local level. And when I mean local, I'm online and streaming. So I haven't done actually any television yet. When I was in South Bend, Indiana, there is a station called, I hope I get this right, WUBS, and it's a gospel station, and my communications director, who's now the chairman and co-founder of the Redemption Party, his family owns a radio station. And so they interviewed me on the radio station, and I've done some plugs on their their radio station. So I'm still at that point where I'm trying to get to the higher levels of media.
I, the next question I have, it's so out there, but I'll say it this way. So, um, we're just gonna assume that you pull off the greatest victory, the greatest upset of all time, and you
Yeah.
actually win the presidency.
Hmm.
How are you? This is actually a two-part question, but I'll ask part one. So
Hmm.
we know that the current Congress, and when I say Congress, everybody, I mean both House and Senate, they're
Yes.
made up of the duopoly.
Yes.
How do you, as a member, not a member of the duopoly, work
Hmm.
with people who are in the duopoly?
Just the way I work with my colleagues at the corporate level. You need to sit down, you need to talk with people, you need to know where they're coming from, they need to know where you're coming from. Because if they truly are earnest about actually working for the American people, then they will do what they said and work, not sit back and have tantrums and mudsling and throw, you know, the baby out with the bathwater on certain issues. They will actually work to get agendas done. So I hear where you're coming from, because a lot of times, depending on if it's a Republican or a Democratic president, that's how they sway those votes. So yeah, would it be a little bit more difficult for me? Yes, because I would have to lobby each party in order to carry my agenda forward. But my agenda is about the people. It's not about me. It's not about the money. And I think that's one thing we have to get away from. And I know a lot of people say, but you need money to make money. Here's the thing: we've been in this whole situation of money, money, money. We've forgotten about the people. Our Congress, to me, they're like little emperors thinking that they're just going to stay there forever and continue to make money off the backs of the American people, getting their hands greased by different corporations to buy their votes. People didn't send you to Washington to vote for the corporations. They sent you to Washington to make sure that their needs are addressed, and that is their job.
Yep, that you said it perfectly. Perfectly said. And the second part of this question is, and I don't think I've ever asked this before. So, when you're looking for a vice presidential running mate, what is it
Mhm.
that you're looking for?
I'm looking for someone who is definitely a good negotiator, someone who carries weight and respect within the political community if this person is a former politician or not. But I definitely need somebody in there that's going to be a ride or die. We're going to get this and we're going to get it done. Again, we're going to get it done for the American people. I don't need anybody in there, being a peacock. I need you in there getting the work done.
That's actually a very insightful answer, and it tells me a lot about who you are because you said that throughout the whole interview. There's a lot of work to be done,
Yeah.
and it's refreshing to talk to a candidate that's about getting the work done. I
Yeah.
have now another question. So when you're your campaign picks up, and as the race
Mm-hmm.
gets closer, um, how am I going to phrase this question? Oh, I'll ask it this way. So there are a few international things that the United
Mm-hmm.
States has its hands in, and I'm
Yes.
curious is how you would handle our current funding of Ukraine. That was my question.
Okay. So I don't want anybody to get offended when I say this. I want receipts. Where's my money going? And why is so much going there? And why are we sending all these weapons there? What is really going on? What happened to getting back down, sitting at the table, and actually getting negotiations done? This is not our battle. This is not our fight. We do not need another Vietnam. We do not need to be there. Period. The end. I want my money back. I want all my quarters. I want every single dime because for the amount of money that they sent over there, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they could have given to each American, what you were talking about the children being in object poverty, that doesn't need to happen. We should not be sending money and funding another country. Now, there's one thing to send some monies because we do with certain countries that we have peace treaties with, and we will help them to build up their armies or help them to build up their societies. But this is ridiculous. We've been sending money to Ukraine since 2011. We're done. I want the receipts. I want to know where every dime has gone. And if there's some of it that we can recoup back, I would like that.
Now,
That's my,
I've never heard the recoupment part because you
I
hear the
want it back.
Republicans, they just want to stop. They really don't want to stop because both sides, they want that war culture to continue
Yep.
instead of
Yeah, they do.
working for peace. See, we're working for peace. We're saying, no,
Yeah,
we want peace. We don't want war. But the
right.
military industrial complex says, well, it may. See,
Right.
no.
Because
I'm
it
gonna.
makes
You're the
money.
candidate. You're the candidate, not me. You're
Come
the
on.
candidate, not me. But it just infuriates me because I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I think my position, what you said, lines up with what I'm thinking. I'm not against, helping them to fund themselves, but have you even said, hey, Russia, we want to sit down and talk this out and not get people on your side killed and not get people on our side? Have you
Right.
even attempted that? And
Right.
I don't know how much money we've actually given to the Ukraine. I know it's got to be closer. It's got to be going. If it's not the billions, it's got to
It's in
be
the billions.
really, yeah. It's got to
It's,
be
yeah.
really, really close because I'm like, well, we could sure feed children. We could help homeless vets with some of that money. I bet we could do it. And this now comes my question, and you probably can't answer it, and that's okay. It
Okay.
seems our government is more concerned
Hmm.
about certain things than other certain things.
Hmm.
You have on one side the Republicans who are completely ridiculous with their non-social issues,
Hmm.
i.e., trans, i.e., being woke, that don't really address issues, and then you have the Democrats that kind of stand around and just say, "We try," but they're really not trying.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
a what makes your approach different from theirs, and how do you not use cultural issues
Hmm.
and actually get the work done?
Right. Because we need to get to a point in our country where we're starting to run on our successes and not the problem. So with both parties, they will find a problem and then they will kick that can down the road and they will pick that can up and shake it whenever they need money to stay in office. And that needs to stop. People really actually need to look at, okay, we sent you there, you were there for 4 years. What did you actually get done? And if you didn't get anything done, we're not sending you back. And you're not going to blame somebody else and say, well, they blocked this, they blocked. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You need to stop using the government as a means to make money. Because I bet you, because this is what I'd love to see. I'd love to just cut all of their salaries and cap them at about $50,000 a year. And then they'd be sitting there going, well, we can't make any. I was like, everybody else figures it out. Why not you? If you
Exactly.
really want to be here and get this work done, then you will take that $50,000. And no, sir, no, ma'am, you may not invest while you are working in Congress. And no, sir, no, ma'am, are you going to get any corporate beneficiaries paying you a dime?
Especially
Work
when
for
you know
50,000 a year. Do that.
we make it work. I wish I did make 50,000. I'm
Look,
like, what? Really? Where's that
look,
job at?
look, make it work and then go home and get your job done. Because guess what? Half of them wouldn't be there because it is about the money. They don't care. And that's what I need them to admit. Like, just admit you don't care. And you are really here to be a peacock and line your pockets and build up your retirement and get that little shiny star next to your name that says, I was, in Congress. Because if you are really about the people, if you are really about getting this done, it'd be done.
Yep,
Period. The
exactly.
end. It would be done.
Done.
And I don't want to hear it.
Exactly.
Nope. No.
Yep. So we finally got some audience comments here, so I'm just going to go through those. Parker wanted to know, just clicked on the stream, is she running for a third party presidential candidate?
Yeah.
I'll let her
Yes,
answer
I
that.
am. Yes, I am
And
running as a third.
fund now, Thea's. I don't. This is Thea's, but I don't understand the question. Funding Ukraine resistance now. I'm not. If you could clarify that question, because I think I
Yeah.
understand it, but I'm not getting it.
Right.
Um,
With Ukraine, the amount of money that they've been given, we could have bought a small country and funded the whole government right now. My issue is not with helping people. Not That's not it at all. My issue is this is turning into an endless blank check and we don't know where the money's going and we don't know why we're sending it at this point, at this juncture. Does that make sense?
that makes everything that you said makes perfect sense to me. I'm like, well, what are they talking about? Let's see. Okay, make it illegal to take any money or gifts as favors outside salary. Watch the roaches run. Roaches.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. He's not wrong because the lobbyist, it's part of their job to lobby between corporations and Congress. That needs to be eliminated. People did not send Congress there to lobby for the corporations. They sent them there because they actually truly wanted to support these individuals to go to Congress to get their agenda, you know, put forth and their issues addressed.
Yep. Here's another question I'll let you answer. Is she just an independent or is she running in connection with a specific third party?
So I am running with a specific third party, and it's a party that I actually founded. It's called the Redemption Party. So it is an independent third party
Or
that
other,
stands.
yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It stands on fiscal responsibility, limiting federal government to empower local government, and constitutional sovereignty.
Anybody else running under that party?
Right now, it's me, but it is
Okay.
open to other candidates, local, state, and federal. So we have an application on the website. So if there is somebody that has maybe an upcoming election, school board, PTA, commissioner, they can run under our ticket.
Okay.
False
I'll let you read
choice.
that and you respond.
Okay. You are presenting a false choice on Ukraine. Okay. I really don't understand the question. It's not a false choice. What I am saying is Ukraine has been getting funding from the United States since 2011. and we really don't know where the money's going and what it's used for. If we are funding any country for that length of time, there should be set forth what we're sending the money for. We are at close to, or have not reached it, $100 billion to one country. That's not acceptable on any level. I don't care who it is. No.
Yep. It seems like we can't do 100 billion to our own country, but hey, that's just me. I'm just here. I'm just here interviewing a presidential candidate. I'm just gonna try to
Okay.
keep myself out of this because I'm interviewing a candidate. Oh
Right.
goodness. I think another question. Um. Oh yeah. Now I think Thais is asking.
You're president. You inherit what your predecessor did. Now what? Okay, so I would probably at this point inherit inflation, an economy, a job. You need to create jobs, and homelessness. Let's just go with those three because those are definitely on the ticket. So with the homelessness, obviously we need to address medical and mental issues. So we're going to have to put forth, and it would probably be by executive order. And I know I told somebody I wouldn't do executive orders, but we need one in this case to bridge the medical gap for those that have mental issues and for those that are homeless, because we need to start with those individuals first to get them off the street and functioning and working. We have a society right now that's just broken down, and we have to do what we are supposed to do to build it up. That is our purpose. That's why we're here. With inflation, by creating more jobs, it will balance out the inflation, but we also have to start with giving people raises. People cannot keep up with the cost of living. You can't raise eggs up to $6 and I'm still making $10 an hour. That's not how this works. We need to make sure that corporations are paying according to the livable wage that we have. So if inflation goes up, then wages have to go up. And that's just how we're going to have to work with the corporations in America, because otherwise we're creating a slave class. And that's just not acceptable.
Now I'm going to backtrack on Theus's jump back on Theus's question, which actually was a jump on my question. So you win again. You pull off the greatest. Wait a minute, we got another. Um, I'll get to that question, Parker, here in just a second. I got to ask this one. So again, you pull off the greatest political upset of all time. It goes to the courts because if the two systems lose, they're not going to just sit and take a defeat like this. Just they're
Right.
just going to sit down and just do nothing. So you win all the court challenges. Supreme Court says no, she's president. What is it that you do on day one?
Ooh, my day one. Well, my day one is I'm definitely going to put in place an anti-black hate crime bill. A lot of people might not like it. It might not be the most popular thing, but that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start there because there has just been too many issues with the freedmen, foundational Black American community that has gone on far too long. And we need to make sure that that's rectified immediately. Next issue that I would probably address. Ooh, I haven't thought about this one a lot. I need to get some more thought into it because there's so many things, and I don't want to be one of those presidents like I'm just going to do everything by executive order. I don't want to do that, and I definitely want the anti-black hate crime bill under the Federal Reparations Act. So I would probably put the Federal Reparations Act that includes the anti-black hate crime bill first and foremost on day one to get that moving forward so that I can work with Congress and the Senate to get it passed and written into our laws. Second thing, getting slavery off the books out of the 14th Amendment. That has to be rectified. Yes, I will put an executive order in place removing it because people have used it to make money off of prisoners that are in jail. And they sometimes will arrest people and put them in jail on trumped up charges just so they're making money on the back end. They actually have to keep the prison system at a certain percentage so they can make money off of those individuals. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that is one. Those are two of the things that I would definitely do on day one.
Okay, so Parker says I have another question if you have time. What do you think are the benefits or downsides sides of running outside the Democratic and I'm going to add Republican primary?
Okay, so the upside is no one owns you, and you can say what you want. Just be careful what you say because everything comes back to bite you, right? The downside is because as a society, we've been so programmed to you can only vote red, Republican, or blue, Democrat, that nobody really considers voting for a third party candidate. There was a candidate back with Bill Clinton called Ross Perot, and he was very prophetic in what he said and a lot of what he campaigned on, but people didn't really like the sound of his voice and his attitude and his swagger, so he didn't win. But he got a really good percentage of the vote, and the independent vote has been growing ever since. So I don't really want anybody to be dismayed and just think, oh, it's all about the Republicans and the Democrats, because right now it isn't. People are looking for a third option. They're actually kind of tired of being on the plantation of the Democratic Party or the plantation of the Republican Party, and they just want somebody to do the work. It's all about doing the work. People want somebody that's authentic, that wants to get in there and do the work for the American people and not be a peacock and sit up there and get their hands greased. It's time for a change.
Okay, I think we got this on your side here. Finally, a candidate with a black agenda. Reinstate a version of the Freedmen's Bureau, which you talked about actually.
Yeah.
Launch cabinet level research into education, transportation. This is literally things you got in late, but this is literally what she was
Yeah.
talking about. Go back and
Yeah.
watch the beginning because she literally talked about that. I'm like, how did he know that and he got in there? So,
Yes.
and he said you sound progressive and you'll be independent. How do you accomplish? Oh, you already answered that question
Yeah.
also because I
Yes.
answered that. So
Yes.
here's a question that I always ask: Are anyone that's running for office? I was asked the
Hmm.
why,
Yes.
um, but I want to know if you could have anything on your to add to your campaign, and I'll give you a choice, and you can tell me why. You can only pick one. You had
Okay.
You could either add more volunteers, you could add a publicity communications division, or you could have more money in your campaign. Which one of the three would you pick and why?
I would pick the volunteers because if you have the volunteers, you'll eventually get the publicity group because there'll be people that'll be like minded that'll want to support that. And with that, as long as you have the volunteers, the money will come. So, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Any guidance on running wholly independent? Oh, I know why he's asking this. Any
Yes.
guidance on running? I know why he's asking this. Any guidance on running wholly independent local campaigns? So I'll let you answer that one.
Yes. So the Redemption Party, we are taking on candidates that are at the state, local level, and also at the federal level. So local, state, federal level. So if you are running for, now I'm not going to make you laugh, a dog catcher, and there's a party required, you could run under the Redemption Party. We actually have an application on the website that you can apply for, and it'll be reviewed, and there'll be somebody to reach out to you and talk with you and walk you through the process and actually go through the process of making sure that you can get on the ballot with in whatever state that you're running in for that local position.
How much aspirin do you take? No, I'm just. I did not want to ask this. Like,
I don't. I don't.
there's no way I could see. This is why I know I'm not able to run for office because again, Michelle Obama did that. When they go low, you go high. I'm totally opposite. You go low, I'm probably going to go lower. That would just give me a constant headache all the time, just worrying about the campaign. But pardon me. Um, the debates. This is going to be probably my last question. The debates.
Okay.
Most
Yeah.
likely, you will not be invited to the presidential debate, the main one.
Hmm. Right.
How do you get your name out to people when you don't have the media working? Because they only interview certain people. Again, they only interview the Republican
Right.
or the Democrat, and they pat themselves on the back like they did something, but they really haven't. How do you get your name out there so that people know who you are when you don't have the advantage of media?
Right. So, well, the beauty of this is that everything isn't linear anymore. We have streaming. So, like you found me on the internet. And there's also another gentleman, he goes by Kiko's. He interviewed me a couple weeks before you did. And he's actually going to bring together some independent candidates and have a debate with some of us on a social platform. So I'm not sure how many, if it'll be four or five or two or three, but he's going to do that debate. I've also debated with another candidate for president, Jasmine Sherman. So the power of social media is a lot more powerful than people think. Even though, yes, we do watch linear television, social media, if the right drop is put in the pond and it makes a ripple effect that's necessary, it'll be a ripple that you can't stop. And so that's why I continue to press forward with my campaign because I know that social media, you don't have to, grease any palms to get behind the camera. But if you have that viral intention on the social media platforms, then linear television is actually going to pick you up. So they're a little bit behind the curve, even though they look like they're ahead of the curve.
Yep. And Parker says he likes your policies, and that sounds interesting having a debate among independents.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here's a question I always ask: Is uh, what has this campaign taught you about yourself that you did not know before?
It's taught me that I have a resilient spirit, that I actually do not give up, that I actually press forward. And I've had, corporate positions where sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're just like, I don't want to go anymore. Where when I think about serving the American people, it actually drives me to work harder because I know that there are people out there in lesser position than me and they're living paycheck to paycheck and they just want a better life for their children and themselves or even if they don't have children just for their maybe their fur baby or their friends they just want to be at peace in their environment. It has really taught me to look at things a different way. I was talking to my husband the other day, and I said, it'd be great if we could really look at the United States like we do cooking. You know, when you want to make something, I think it's called mirepoix. I'm probably pronouncing it, probably butchering that name, but it's garlic, onion, celery, and carrots. And it's usually a base for a lot of different recipes. But if everything tasted like garlic, how good would it be? If everything tasted like celery, how good would it be? It wouldn't because it takes all of those different flavors to make it taste better. And that's the one thing we need to remember as an American society. We don't have to be the same. We just have to come with the flavors that we have to make this better.
That was well said. Parker has another question. This is kind of a crazy idea. But what if all the independent candidates all had to run in one primary, but the only one could emerge and they would have to be able to
Oh,
run a debate with the. You know, that's not a crazy idea.
it's actually not a crazy idea.
It
It
would not be a crazy idea.
no, I wouldn't support that, but it could be interesting. But I hear what you're saying. It would
Yeah.
be similar to the caucuses that they have for the Republican Party, right? They might have three or four people that need the nod, right, to actually be their nominee. It's an idea. I don't know how many independent candidates would go for it, but it is an idea because you would have to get everybody on the same page to work on that. And I think everybody's trying to run the race the way they think it should be run and stand out because it's a race. I've ran track before, and this is cross country. This is not just running around the track. This is like jumping over water holes and logs and running around trees and, making sure you don't get stuck in the mud. So it is definitely something that takes the heart of going the distance.
And final question, if you could stick around for like maybe 3 minutes after we go off air, I have a question that I don't want to ask publicly. And
Okay.
don't worry about audience what I'm going to ask, but it's a question pertaining for Kipit. Can you tell the audience or those watching who will watch this later how they can contribute to your campaign, volunteer for your campaign, or learn more about your campaign?
Yes. So you can visit nicholsforpresident.com, and that's Nichols, FOR president.com. And if you're also interested in becoming a member of the Redemption Party, you can either visit usaredemptionparty.com or redemption-party.com. And there are buttons on there, donation buttons, where you can donate to our campaign. We're just looking for small donations, those $5, $10 donations or more, and it adds up. So no donation is too small. So don't ever think, well, I can only give $2. If you multiply $2 times 100 people, that's $200. That's more than what we had before, and what we can do with it. And I want everybody to know what we'd be doing with the money would mainly be advertising and making sure that we're getting the word out on the ground, grassroots, to get on petitions in more states. So that's the work that we're doing. We're not just wanting money to have money. Those are the two areas that the money would be going towards.
And if this is going to get the last comment, I would say no one can wear their party designation and have a debate everyone in the same form. I really like a sit down table debate. State level often won't allow party flags. I think
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not this one. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank um, mostly Marlon and Marlon's on here too, but
Uh-huh.
I want to thank Theus and Parker for offering their comments. Please remember, even if you watch this after we go live, you can still comment in the comment section. Remember to like this page, comment on it, and for everything, please subscribe. I'm still 888 subscribers away from 1,000. That's my goal. Uh, just keep that in mind. I want to thank my guests. I got kind of off to a slow start, but there were like a ton of other questions I was going to ask, but I'm like, nope, she has things she has to do, and I'm going to let her do them. But remember to tune in next week, and we'll see you when we see you. Everybody have a great evening.